Welcome back to another episode of Ballers, Beers, and Banter. I'm your host, Dave. Here with me, a couple of guys who have some real preseason hype about them, Anthony and Moose.
What's
Hello.
up? Simultaneous.
That was perfectly
That was
timed.
very well done. Very well done. For those watching on YouTube, of course, another new background for Vacation Dave, who has his vacation shirt on, Venice Beach. I'm not going to show it too much because I've been told not to move. I'm going to try not to move at all because the light, it just messes up the lighting. I'm in my brother's place, Burlington, Ontario. You can see his degrees in the background, very professional. He went to a lot of school. But yeah, I'm having a great time on vacation. Tomorrow, coming back to Montreal, guys.
All right.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm mainly concentrating on not moving right now for our YouTube listeners, of which we have a lot. So how you guys doing?
Do you listen on YouTube or are you a viewer?
Me? Oh, yeah. You're right. So for people viewing on YouTube,
I guess you're also listening. You're both.
Yeah.
both. I think
Our YouTube audience.
I mean, as beautiful as we are, I think a lot of people put on the YouTube and mainly listen while they're doing other things because, I mean, it's just our faces and a cool logo, but it's pretty awesome.
And maybe sometimes for the viewers.
You can see how you can see. So sometimes we make faces at each other and we don't say anything. That's important. And then also you can see if we're really angry or not, of which we never really are, except Anthony when he goes on a rant. So I feel like you might, on the podcast, you might hear us and be like, oh man, he's really upset the other guy. But we're really just, we're just jamming out. Just having a great time.
At the end of the day, it's all just fantasy.
Just three dudes talking fantasy. Should be our new tagline. All right. Today, the main topic of discussion is our final episode of rankings. We're going to go through top 12 QBs and tight ends for our draft rankings. Hopefully, you've been listening to us over the past 2 seasons and you have not drafted in your league yet. I think a lot of drafts are this weekend coming, like next weekend. We're recording on a Sunday right now, August 29th. It's a pretty special day today. But if you've already drafted, then there's a lot of stuff that went down that might affect your league. So hopefully you haven't. But if you have, we'll help you out. Just hit us up.
What Dave's hinting at and why today is so special is his Dave's birthday today.
His real birthday. Because we celebrated it before. We mentioned that we were doing our draft order party and then we were celebrating his birthday at the same time. So now it's his actual birthday.
His actual birthday.
Yeah. I know,
Happy birthday, Dave.
years old today. Can you
Happy
believe
birthday.
it? Thank you.
24. Did you say 24?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
That's what I feel. You're only as old as you feel. So I feel 10 years younger than I am.
Well, that's
delicious. Well, cheers to you guys. Cheers to all of our listeners out there. Let's make this a good fantasy year. Let's get into some headlines.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to roll into headlines with that. I hope you didn't draft too early.
Yeah, that's what
True. So we did the birthday thing. Thank you. If you drafted too early, then one of you listening, if you've drafted in your leagues, someone in your league has J.K. Dobbins. And unfortunately,
two people might have been in trouble because I don't think we just spoke about Travis Etienne yet since that happened.
We did.
Definitely spoke about Travis.
Yeah. Okay. Last episode
in detail. Please listen to our last episode. But J.K. Dobbins in preseason week 3, Baltimore Ravens set a record 20 preseason games undefeated. You haven't lost since 2015. Great, good on you. But guess what? You lost J.K. Dobbins for the year. Torn ACL confirmed. We hate to see it. We hate to see it at any point, but we especially hate to see it in the preseason because the games mean nothing. It's practice. And poor J.K. Dobbins, just an awkward hit, to the knee. Looked like his foot kind of got stuck and then his knee bent backwards and that's it. He's out for the season. Poor guy, second-year guy. And he was about a second-round target. So if you've already drafted, he was probably taken in your second round, at latest third round. So it hurts. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, it's upsetting news for sure. I mean, I know a lot of people were excited to see what J.K. Dobbins was going to do in his second year. All the rookies from last season, I think we have said multiple times, oh, finally they get a preseason to really work with the team, really get involved, really, coordinate their talents. And I think definitely Baltimore is one of these teams where we said, hey, they're trying to increase their pass game. They're trying to get, less Lamar Jackson running, more J.K. Dobbins running, and now we won't know. Not until next season.
Yeah. We hope, anyways, we hope J.K. Dobbins makes a full recovery and comes back better than ever next year in his third year. But for this year, Anthony, so now it's Gus Edwards. It's the Gus Edwards show, besides Lamar Jackson, who's going to rush for over 1,000 yards. It's the Gus Edwards show at running back for Baltimore on one of the best running teams and running attacks in the league. Where would you draft Gus Edwards now?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. You're definitely not taking him in the spot that you would have originally taken J.K. Dobbins. I think he's more.
Why not?
Because I don't think the talent level's the same. So Gus Edwards, we talked about him in the past, about being maybe a guy that would affect J.K. Dobbins in the red zone. So. Right. And I know we also talked about the running backs in Baltimore, how they haven't really hit on somebody since Ray Rice. So Gus Edwards, there was a lot of high hopes for Gus Edwards when they first drafted him. And he never really stood out as the RB1. And I think it's kind of similar to the Darrell Henderson situation. Gus Edwards in the past has had injury issues as well. So him going to the number one spot, I think you would have to draft him around where Darrell Henderson is being drafted, or maybe a little less, because I think Darrell Henderson is more of a receiving back, whereas Gus Edwards is not. So
more of a bruiser.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this complicates a lot of drafts. I know this will affect me in some of my drafts because where I'm drafting, I have a couple teams where I'm drafting at the front end. So first pick, I have one at first pick and one at third pick, and J.K. Dobbins is who I get coming back in the second round. That's usually where he's going. So now I have to look elsewhere. And I mean, this is why we say running backs are important and running back depth is important, because you have guys like Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, Clyde Edwards-Helaire suffered a minor injury. And I mean,
these all could have happened in week 1, week 5, week 10. Right. It's going to happen to running backs.
So this is why we say it's best to draft later, because there's nothing worse than getting excited for the fantasy season and then immediately not excited for starting out week 1 with a bunch of injuries.
Listen, running back injuries are to fantasy football what Thanos was to the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Inevitable.
Yes.
That's just the way it is. It's going to happen. Moose, what do you think?
I don't think much changes. Like, I don't think Gus Edwards should be wildly boosted.
You don't think he should be boosted? He was being drafted was being drafted. Where was his ADP? Can you drum it up?
I know, but I'll put it to you like this. For example, last season, CH goes down. Does like Le'Veon Bell suddenly wildly become like a top asset? Not really.
If he was good,
yeah,
Gus Edwards is good. Gus Edwards is a good running back. He's gonna get tons of volume.
But that's it. He's just good. Like, he's not great. I don't see the talent of him. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't wildly jump up like, oh my God. Like, for example, who was ahead of Kareem Hunt when when he got his opportunity? Kareem Hunt, like when he was in Kansas City, tons of talent. So he gets an opportunity, but a guy like Kareem Hunt is very talented. So boom, right away he shoots up, super asset. But I don't see that with Gus Edwards. He's going into his fourth year. Yeah. Hasn't really broken out or anything. So if it hasn't happened, I can't.
If he's the only guy, like, I'm thinking, like, what do you think his yardage is going to be? Like,
I'm thinking only guy, not the only guy. Everybody gets touches, and on the touches he's been given, didn't really break out.
So
he did well. He's very efficient. Actually. So
I don't know,
almost no touches, and he did fairly well with them.
Yeah. So right now, I don't know if this is updated today or how recent these ADPs are, but for sleeper, he's 70th. Which is like late 5th, early 6th. Yes. So I think he was going around 8 before. And like I mentioned just earlier, that I don't put him, like, he doesn't go into my top 24 RB rankings. He doesn't go where Henderson would go. I mean, I'm probably going to avoid Henderson as much as possible. I do have him, I think, at around that 24th spot. I don't think Gus Edwards, like I said, we talk half point PPR mostly, 12-team leagues. I don't think I would take a shot on Gus Edwards.
Yeah, he doesn't jump ahead of anyone I'm targeting. He's still going to sort of float in that same range, but maybe I would consider him before another running back in that range. But I'm not, like, he doesn't suddenly take a jump.
So where would you have drafted him previously?
Where did I have him? I guess around maybe
8,
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I
So
spoke to somebody.
Okay. Does he not become a marquee to the mid-round now?
He could be. But
I don't know,
he's not a flashy player. So
Yeah,
that's
I just-
but you got to
his ceiling's not high. It's just volume
If
at
he's
this point.
essentially the only
Yeah.
proven back that they have, you got to figure he's going to be getting 20 plus touches a game. He's going to be over 1,000 yards on the season, and if he was already pretty good in the red zone, he might be 10 plus touchdowns. So that,
but he's not the
an
only
RB2.
He's not the only back there.
I said capable back. Do you think Justice Hill is very capable?
So this is what I was just
Well,
going
I
to say.
think he could be. I mean, they drafted him to be,
So
and apparently the rookie has been really good in camp. So I mean, Gus Edwards could fall back to just being Gus Edwards.
So Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, Justice Hill was the other running back that I was referring to, that I said they try to hit on these running backs and they haven't worked out. So Justice Hill and Gus Edwards are in the same spot. So all it takes is for the other one to get hot for a few weeks, and then Gus Edwards is not irrelevant, but he's not as important.
Well, he just becomes Gus Edwards again.
Exactly. So what I would say is, what I was going to mention, I was speaking to a listener of our podcast, and he did his draft yesterday during the Baltimore game, saw J.K. Dobbins go down, and he got Gus Edwards in the 9th or 10th round. That's where the value is, and that's where he doesn't miss out on other players. But now Gus Edwards is going to go way too high. Like we said, Henderson, people are too high on them now, and they're going to go way higher than where we want to draft them. So realistically, none of us are going to get him.
And that's not to say they could still sign Adrian Peterson, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley.
That's true. Now that's true. They could definitely bring someone in, and that would affect Gus Edwards' stock. But I don't think Justice Hill is going to affect him that much. I'm not even factoring passing game for Gus Edwards. I'm just thinking in terms of rushing and tutties. I think if they don't sign anyone else, he's going to be in line for a ton of volume and red zone opportunity.
Just to say who the listener is, Daniel Curl, good job on drafting Gus Edwards super late.
Oh,
and,
Daniel.
And watching preseason while you're drafting. I mean, if you're going to draft before it's over.
Genius move.
It's a genius
move. Way to go, Daniel. All right, let's move on. Other big news, Gardner Minshew, America's favorite quarterback, traded from the Jacksonville Jaguars to the Philadelphia Eagles for a conditional 6th-round pick. I believe it becomes a 5th-round pick if he plays 50% of snaps or more in at least 3 games. So obviously, for a 6th, 5th-round pick, it's not that much. I'm actually kind of surprised he only went for that.
Yeah,
I figured they could have got more for a guy like Gardner. He proved he could be a starter, or at least a very good backup. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. Talk to me about Jalen Hurts and the situation in Philadelphia. What do you think this means?
To me, the weirdest thing, and I know I've mentioned it a few times, all these teams are coming out, they're naming their starting quarterbacks. This guy's a starter, this guy's a starter.
Yep.
We're all assuming Jalen Hurts is the starter, but don't you think Philadelphia would have said prior to this trade becoming public, Jalen Hurts is our starter, we're getting Gardner as the backup? But now it's just out there.
Yeah, I mean, well, but I guess that you're right. But that assumes that Philadelphia does things the right way.
Well, this is
that they don't. So, but it's certainly not a great sign for Jalen Hurts as the biggest on this podcast supporter of Jalen Hurts and his ability in fantasy football. It's not a great sign. I mean, either that or Joe Flacco is just terrible, and they're like, we got to dump Joe Flacco.
Yeah, you need a better backup.
We need a better backup. But either way, if you're that concerned about your backup, it means you have concerns about your starter. So. And he's unproven. He only played 4 or 5 games last year. He was very good for fantasy in that time. Excuse me, my voice cracked. But I still we'll talk about QBs later. I still think Jalen Hurts has the ability to be a great fantasy asset to your team. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean, Moose and I, how we feel about Jalen Hurts. It's the surrounding talent. It's not that we don't think Jalen Hurts is talented. I was very high on him coming into the NFL because I watched him a lot in college. And I mean, it wouldn't be good for Minshew either to be the starter. If Jalen Hurts is failing, Minshew goes in. There's nobody to they have some young talent, but I just don't think for example, I compare them to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who looked terrible in the preseason because they're just a terrible team, but they have more offensive weapons than the Philadelphia Eagles. So I mean, they're both going to be terrible. I think it's going to be a race to the finish for who's going to finish last.
Race to the bench.
Well, the
Race to the
Houston
bench and
Texans-
Houston
the
Texans
are going to finish last.
But I mean, at this point, Tyrod Taylor, he's got, it seems like, way more offensive weapons than Philadelphia. So I mean, as long as he's
the Houston Texans have way more offensive weapons than
they
Philadelphia.
signed everybody. I mean, Philadelphia should have tried and signed a couple. Like Lindsey would have been better than Miles Sanders, in my opinion.
Ooh, that's a bold take.
That is a pretty bold take.
I think Miles Sanders is decent. We don't want him for fantasy, but he's a decent running back.
Yeah, but
I'm
talking fantasy here.
They got Jalen. I know they have young, unproven people, but Jalen Reagor, Devonta Smith, who's the Heisman Trophy winner, and then Quez Watkins is supposed to be. He's been very good in the preseason. He's very fast, and Jalen Hurts has the arm to throw to him at least. I know his accuracy needs work, but he can throw it far. And then Dallas Goedert, of course. There's some weapons there.
Zach Ertz is still there too.
Zach Ertz is still there too. So I agree. It's not the best. It's certainly on the lower end, but I think it's enough. And to me, what Jalen Hurts is, anyways, we'll get into it later. But he's going to make his money with his legs. That's going to be the key for him. If he rushes for 800 yards in the season and a bunch of rushing tutties, then he doesn't have to pass as much as Joe Burrow needs to, or Tom Brady, or Matt Stafford. These types of quarterbacks. So anyways, in quarterback news, rumors are a potential trade of Deshaun Watson to the Miami Dolphins. A lot of rumors buzzing, and I know he was linked to Miami before all of the allegations and such came out about him. So now we had this rumor resurface now that Deshaun Watson is at camp, and it looks like as the NFL always does, probably let him play. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, I think it's exciting for Miami.
Yeah,
for sure.
But it's weird that this is come back out, because Tua actually, I mean, we all know Deshaun Watson is fantasy and real life a top 5 quarterback. But I mean, Tua, you drafted this guy. I mean, he was there. It's not like he has a new head coach. He has the same head coach as last year, Brian Flores. And he looks great during the preseason, has a rapport with Waddle, which they played together in college. And Fuller will come back after. I mean, we all know how we feel about Fuller, but I mean, it's good to have him there. The tight end, Mike Gesicki, looks good. The running backs the offense seems to be moving. So I think it would be weird, because you'd have to think that they'd trade Tua for Deshaun Watson, right? So
yeah,
it just seems weird.
But the whole thing's weird. Like, any team that trades for Deshaun Watson now, assuming that Deshaun Watson would start for them, I mean, it's not exactly the greatest start to a season.
Right. But teams like, if Philadelphia would trade for him, I mean, we haven't heard the most positive things coming out of the preseason and camp from Jalen Hurts. So, I mean, if they need productivity, Deshaun Watson did it with a terrible team last year. So, I mean, he's better than Jalen Hurts, technically.
He is. Yeah.
No, not technically. Actually.
Yes, he is. So you're wondering why Miami?
Yeah, I'm just saying, why would Miami still try to go get him? I do know he's a top quarterback and he will be your guy forever. But Tua, like I said, it's not like it's a new coaching staff and they don't want him as the QB. They drafted him last year. They got, in my opinion, they drafted Waddle to help give him a boost on offense, get him going. So I don't know.
Or maybe Miami's just thinking, if we get good quarterback play, we can win the Super Bowl. Maybe that's what they believe. And you know what? If they get really, really good quarterback play, they probably can. They're in that conversation. Their defense is solid. They have weapons now on offense. So maybe they're thinking, get Deshaun Watson, keep playing Tua. But if Tua doesn't turn into the quarterback that we hoped him to be, we have Deshaun Watson. Worst case scenario, we can trade Deshaun Watson. We have a trade asset for later on when he's cleared to play.
To me, it made
also he has a rapport with Fuller.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which is why he wants to go there, is what came out. But before it came out as Miami is the clear front runner again, the other team was the Carolina Panthers, which I know I expect things from Darnold, like for him to improve on a new team. But I mean, I haven't heard that much from Carolina for the QB position. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he went to Carolina over Miami. I think that's a better move.
No, Carolina's out apparently.
Yeah, Carolina's
they're out.
But those were the two.
They're happy with Sam Darnold for the time being.
Yeah, but I haven't heard much about Sam Darnold, so that worries me a little bit for me making my beer bets. So
he literally looked all right until I texted you guys saying he looks all right, and then he did not look all right.
Good to know. All right. Well, we'll stay tuned for that, and of course, we'll update you on if when there are trades. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at 3B Fantasy Pod. You can also email us at 3bfantasypod@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and of course, every Wednesday live on a new time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Halftime Sports. Got to come check us out there. And we're going to be doing a live draft this Wednesday coming on there. Yeah, it's the 3B Halftime Bowl 2021, the inaugural. It's going to be epic.
We should have called it the 4B League, because then it could be the Ballers Banters Beer Bowl.
Okay, we can rename the league. It hasn't started yet, but I like that. I like that idea. All right, let's roll on with some of these more headlines. I'm going to skip what's next on our Slack, come back to it. But Moose, Irv Smith Jr., promising tight end for the Minnesota Vikings, injured. Do you know details on the injury? And
all I know, I just saw a headline that said Irv Smith needs meniscus surgery, out a couple of weeks.
Yeah, at least a couple of weeks. Like, it sounds messy. Your meniscus is, of course, in your knee, and the knee is, not good, as we know. ACLs, MCLs, PCLs.
Yeah, it didn't sound like a serious surgery. Like it. Here's David. This is your favorite. Yep. I think he's just going to have some cleanup done.
Yeah, they're cleaning it up. Class surgeons love to clean it up.
Yeah. So as I said weeks ago, and still even more so, now it's time to take a good hard look at Tyler Conklin.
I guess. Is he on your? We'll talk about him later, Moose. He's not on your top 12, obviously, but he's like a deep sleeper.
He's not a deep sleeper anymore. I mean, I think he's not in the top 12, but he's definitely in the conversation for someone you might want to draft.
Okay. We missed this headline with the quarterbacks, but Ryan Fitzpatrick officially announces the QB1. I know Anthony and Moose have a beer bet that Taylor Heinicke will play at least 2 games. Is it?
No. The bet is that he takes over for Ryan Fitzpatrick because of non-injury. If Ryan Fitzpatrick gets injury, comes in, it doesn't count. Yeah. But if at some point Tyler Heinicke comes in to be the new starter over Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Hasty one last year, where Hasty just need to be on the depth chart as RB1, and then he wins. So it's the same thing.
No.
You're betting that Heinicke will.
You said that Heinicke was going to be their franchise quarterback. So the bet was that he replaces Ryan Fitzpatrick completely.
Wait, I never said franchise. Franchise is year in, year out. I said at some point this season he will come in.
Okay, but that whole bet stemmed from an Instagram post that you had that said rumors in the locker room are that Tyler Heinicke's the franchise quarterback and will replace Ryan Fitzpatrick.
That was actually the second thing that made me want to do the bet. The first one was what I had been saying, that Fitzpatrick, every team that he's been on, he's at least been benched at some point in the season, not because of injury. So I said the numbers is that every team he's been on in the past 3 years, he's been benched at some point. Even when it was not necessary. In Miami, he was playing good. They were in a playoff position, and they benched him. So
for Tua.
And Tua,
not the 4th-string quarterback.
Yeah, but
we'll have to go back. We'll have to go back and we'll listen to what the bet was. I'll take it, whatever it is, because we've already agreed to it.
It's definitely that Taylor Heinicke starts a game over Ryan Fitzpatrick, non-injury related.
Exactly.
That's the bet. We'll see how it plays out. I'm very excited about that. All right, last one I have on our list, headline that we have in our post in our Slack is Jamar Chase issues. So I know he's been struggling at camp, dropping a lot of balls. Talk to me, guys.
So this, I wanted to mention it. I mean, there was no massive headline post about it on Sleeper or the other platforms. It's just he's struggling a lot, and I think it's due. When we did our rookie episodes, there were a lot of rookies that opted out due to COVID or other issues, and I think he is, I guess, the main guy for taking a year off might be bad for you. So Jamar Chase was supposed to be one of in the top 3 talented wide receivers coming into the NFL this year, and he hasn't looked good, which I think if people had doubts about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase taking over as the wide receiver 1 because he has a rapport with Burrows, don't be worried. Burrow. I'm thinking of Alex Burrow's NHL,
Hacky.
but Hacky. But no, so T. Higgins secured, in my opinion, as the wide receiver 1 of the team. Jamar Chase, they even said that he, at the moment, looks like he's being outplayed by Auden Tate for the wide receiver 3 position. Is not great.
Okay, but hold on. let's pump the brakes here.
Yeah.
Until last season, when you have a Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb type season, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We'd say, oh yeah, he needs 3 years. He'll break out in his third year. So let's all just calm down here for redraft. You guys just figuring out the NFL.
Right, that's it. But I say, like, now it's way more clear. Like, I think our early preseason rankings, or when we're talking about who we draft or marquee guys, there are receivers that I had below him, like rookie receivers, that would go ahead of him. In my opinion, the Waddle Tua rapport puts Waddle ahead of Jamar Chase.
Deshaun Watson takes over. But Anthony's point is valid because Jamar Chase, his ADP is the highest amongst those Bengals wide receivers. So it makes no sense. You know, Moose, you're right that besides last year and maybe the year before, rookie wide receivers don't usually finish in the top 12, top 24. It takes them a while to break out. Right. So, yeah, this is typical. So maybe last year was an anomaly with all those great rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, but the ADP is way too high.
Way too high. I'd be looking at T. Higgins, one of our marquee mid rounds. I'd be looking at him, and even Tyler Boyd. You can get Tyler Boyd very late in your draft, and you know he's going to get. He's not going to be. He doesn't have the upside of those guys, but he'll be steady. He's like a Jarvis Landry, Anthony. You know, he's
better, a little bit better than a Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, I would think so.
New Jarvis Landry, yeah, very reliable. So, any other points on Jamar Chase? We're not chasing that headline anymore. Are there any other headlines in general, or can we move on to main topics?
I think we could move on to a main topic.
Well, I'm very excited. Very excited. We are going to get into our draft rankings, our final draft rankings before the season begins. And we're going to get into QBs first and go over just our top 12 QBs because traditionally we're dealing with a 1 QB league, half-point PPR, 12-team league. So we're going top 12. But if you're in a super flex league and you'd like to talk to us about who the second QBs 13 to 24, we can still post those rankings, but we'd also like you to get in touch with us or come talk to us live on Halftime on Wednesday, Halftime Sports app, download it and talk to us and give us your super flex questions. All right, gentlemen, you ready?
Yeah. At risk of giving Anthony a hard time, I'm not going to look at the list. I'm just going to listen to you guys.
Okay.
And talk where need be.
But can you, so if he is jumping around, you want me to signal you and
no.
You can make fun of him?
No.
Well, no. We already established that there's not that many discrepancies here, so there's no need to go back.
Fair enough. All right. I'll list out our top 12 consensus quarterbacks as of today, August 29th. And then we will go into some of the ones that are, that we have disagreements on. All right, at number 1, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Patrick Mahomes, Roman numeral 2. At number 2, last year's top fantasy quarterback, Josh Allen. At number 3, Kyler Murray. At number 4, Lamar Jackson. At number 5, Dak Prescott. Number 6, Justin Herbert. At number 7, Aaron Rodgers. Number 8, Russell Wilson. Number 9, Matthew Stafford. Number 10, Ryan Tannehill. Number 11, Tom Brady. And rounding out our top 12, at number 12, Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. That is our consensus list. It's not a bad list. I like our consensus list. We disagree a little bit on who should be 6, 7, 8, but it's a pretty good list overall. Mm-hmm. So Mahomes, Allen, Murray, they're a lock. Mahomes is incredible. If he plays all 17 games, probably going to finish number 1, and you're pretty much guaranteed one of the top quarterbacks week to week to week in your production. Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, we feel tons of upside there, especially with their legs and the rapport they built with Diggs and Hopkins.
Josh Allen's going to be bonkers this season.
He could be better.
I mean, the Bills, I know it's preseason, but the Bills in preseason look absolutely incredible.
Well, listen, their only weaknesses were on O-line and D-line, and they just drafted a ton of them. And now they have tons of depth. They have the weapons. Yeah, they're going to be great. I think they're going to be fantastic. So the question is if you're willing to draft those guys early, because Mahomes takes usually a second-round pick, like an early second-round pick. Josh Allen's like early third round. Kyler Murray's like late third round. So if you're willing to draft QB early and get a guaranteed lock, go ahead, take them. Most of us on the podcast recommend maybe trying to go just a tiny bit later. And get someone who could finish as high as those other guys.
So like that's where Justin Herbert's value is important, because we're all high on him, but of course we're not going to put him higher, like tier 1. I mean, he's going into a second season, so I mean that's
Right.
a great value pick if you wait a little bit.
I mean, he's never played in front of a crowd. Put it that way. So he's never been in an away stadium in front of a crowd. Do I think that's
Right.
going to affect him? No, not really.
Well, he has played in front of a crowd.
Right, in university, in Oregon,
college,
but at the NFL level. But would it surprise me if Justin Herbert finishes as the third fantasy quarterback? No, not at all by the end of the season, because sometimes like Mahomes, if he plays all the games, is like just crazy ahead of everyone. Lamar Jackson can finish way ahead of everyone, but then the other quarterbacks are separated by not much, right? So, and Justin Herbert could easily finish in that top. Tons of upside on him. Let's talk about Dak Prescott, guys. I know he's cleared for week 1. It was announced today. He's definitely playing week 1, but the fact that he's coming off this ankle injury and then had the 2 shoulder MRIs to limit his throwing in training camp, it concerns me. I have no concerns if he's healthy with that offense and with the pace he was on last year. No concerns. I'm concerned about injuries. I know, Moose, you're someone who usually shies away from people who have unneeded risk at injury when there's a guy that you could draft behind him who would be just as good. So you talk to me, Moose. Are you worried about drafting Dak Prescott? Do you have?
I have zero worry about Dak Prescott.
Zero concern. So why do you have zero concern with him, but you have concern with others, like other injuries?
Well, one, his injury seems like it was just shaking off rust. I mean, he went out there and just
the shoulder.
Yeah, started. Well, yeah. We hope his ankle is back in place and good. I mean, that was a bit of a freak accident, and it could happen to anyone. But hopefully, I mean, from what I've seen on Hard Knocks, and the ankle looks fine. Like he was really running and cutting, and it seemed to hold up. In terms of his shoulder, Jerry Jones came out today, said, yeah, Dak's 100% ready for week 1. None of the MRIs came back that showed any significant type of damage or anything like that. It was, from my understanding, just a muscular thing from launching 70-yard bombs too early instead of warming up to that kind of level of play.
And I'll just piggyback off of that because it seems like Moose and I agree on our QBs up until the 7th ranked one. But Dak Prescott is the same reason when we talk about a guy like Saquon for running backs, the injury, can be a factor, but with the talent, he should not go lower than 5th. Technically, this is a guy that can finish 1, 2, 3, but I think he's only 5th for the reason that he didn't play most of the season last year. But I mean, he's going to be phenomenal. Like Moose said, his shoulder's not the issue. His leg is healed. The shoulder seemed to be the only issue at camp, and it was just stupidity having him throw bombs for no reason. So you should draft him confidently.
He was apparently throwing like 70-yard bombs for the punt return team. So instead of punting it, he was just launching it for them,
which is the stupidest thing.
Yeah,
that's definitely very stupid. But with again, we talk about he went through a whole year of, instead of doing his regular offseason training, he's rehabbing, right, and he's healing from that leg injury. So that's why he didn't have that much. He didn't have the same strength. Didn't have the repetitions in with some offseason throwing. So it does concern me a little bit, the health, when if you're coming up to pick Dak, but Aaron Rodgers is on the board or Russell Wilson's on the board. They could easily get injured, but I just feel more comfortable with that they don't have that potential rust, or that all of a sudden, he's throws one game and he's like, no, he has tendonitis in his shoulder or something like that. So it concerns me a little bit. I still have him in the top 10, but I dropped him down. I had moved him back up and then moved him back down a little bit with the shoulders. But if he's healthy, he's going to be awesome. He's going to be great. So if you're confident that he'll be healthy and it's just kicking off the rust, as Moose says, then yeah, you should draft him, wherever you think you're comfortable with. But personally, I think I might be steering clear of him.
I mean, that offense is going to be so powerful.
Yeah.
As last year,
I want every part of Dak Prescott I can get, for sure.
But that's it. I feel like him over, because you mentioned Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson seems to fizzle out towards the end of the season. I mean, they're usually in it. Uninjured, exactly. So they're usually in a playoff position, but they go on maybe a couple of weeks where they're more run heavy, or he's not hitting the guys. as much as he is earlier on in the season. But I mean, the thing with Dallas, what is good for people is that even if they're not competitive and in a playoff position, he's still going to throw bombs down the field. And guys like CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, they're still going to be huge at the end, the back half of the regular season. Whereas Russell Wilson usually lets you down, especially when you're making a push for the playoffs in your fantasy leagues.
Yeah, and I know that's been maybe a 2-season trend with Russell Wilson, and to me, that's more. It's nothing to do with Russell. It has to do with like game planning and strategy, and they all of a sudden start to run the ball more and shore up their defense.
But it still affects Russell.
Oh,
which
yes,
is all we care about.
Because they didn't change the coaching
Russell.
staff.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but with Russell Wilson now having more of a voice in that locker room. He changed his contract so they could sign Jamal Adams. He wants Dwayne Brown to get a certain amount, his left tackle. I think they're going to stick a little bit more to what the Russell plan, which is let Russell cook. So I don't think we'll see as much of a letdown this year with Russell Wilson in particular. But
I mean, they let him cook until they didn't. So.
Yeah, but that's it. They always let him.
Like he's still, but they're going to hopefully let him keep cooking.
But that's yeah. I mean, it's the same coaching staff, so I mean, he'll kill it like he normally does, and then he'll fizzle out. And he doesn't fizzle out like.
Why is he definitely going to fizzle out? Why does last year have to transplant onto this year?
You said first of all, it's the last 2 seasons. It's had this. He's had this trend. And what have they changed? What
they changed was Russell Wilson went to the media and said how unhappy he was with everything, and then they sat down with him. They said, "What do you want?" And he said, "Dwayne Brown, Gerald Everett, throw the ball more and let me be more a part of the decision making, like Tom Brady is." And that's what they're doing. So that's what's changed.
But Tom Brady went to a different team. That's the difference. Whereas the coaches could be saying, "Oh yes, oh yes," and I'm pretty sure Russell Wilson complained the other years. It's just he went to the public this time because nobody was listening. Doesn't mean they're going to listen to him again. It's the same coaching staff, and they're going to do what they feel is best.
We can only answer this question at the end of this season.
Awesome. I look forward to it. All right, guys. So which others on the list did you want to talk about in terms of discrepancy? I mean, so we talked about Mahomes, Allen Murray, Lamar Jackson. We all have at number 4 as well. So our top 4 are consensus in all aspects.
I mean, Lamar Jackson might even be higher now that the J.K. Dobbins issue, because maybe he just might become the running back even more.
Well, yeah, it'll encourage him to run maybe a little more.
Like if you were excited about Jalen Hurts' running yardage, now Lamar Jackson's running just got boosted.
Especially maybe some red zone running. Like he might, I think last year for the yardage he had, his rushing tutties were very low. I think generally for every 100 or so yards on the ground, you're good for a touchdown. So I think he had 7 touchdowns last year, Anthony, if you want to drum it up, but had over 1,000 yards, just over 1,000. So I think that comes up. You're right, Moose. So Lamar Jackson has the ability to rush for 1,200 and 12 TDs.
He had 7 tutties.
Yeah, he had 7.
Yeah. So
1,000 yards, and then, but I mean, he had 7 the year before as well, but 1,200 yards.
1,200 yards on the ground. So those tutties could come up, and he could absolutely finish as number 1 overall quarterback, and that's someone that you're getting like round 5 or 6, right? Which is, to me, that's that sweet spot. If you can get someone in those rounds at QB who has the potential to finish first overall, you're laughing. We talked about Dak, talked about Justin Herbert. We all like him at number 6. Number 7, Aaron Rodgers. I'm a little bit higher on Aaron Rodgers than you guys, but it's still in that same window. Do you think you see a regression from Aaron Rodgers coming from Aaron Rodgers, the guy who finished 2nd overall in fantasy last year?
I don't know.
It's just hard to duplicate an MVP season. So
it is hard. It is hard.
He'll be lower, but I mean, not where you'd be worried drafting him as your starter. I mean, like tight ends, when we talk about tight ends, it's the tiers for QBs, like it's much larger because a lot of them finish within the same realm. So it's preference at that point, I think, when you're looking at Aaron Rodgers.
Fair enough. At number 8, we had Russell Wilson, talked about him. Number 9, we had Matt Stafford. We all like Matt Stafford in the same general area.
Super high on him this year.
Yeah, Anthony's got him at 8. Moose got him at 9. I got him at 10. I think he's definitely a good pick on that Rams offense. That's when Matt Stafford you can get pretty late in terms of ADP or mid-round. So he could be the best value amongst all those guys. We have Ryan Tannehill at number 10. I love Tannehill. Who's lowest on him? Anthony, where do you have him? Oh, you guys have him at 11, and I have him at 9. So pretty happy medium. But he's got weapons. He's been really efficient. He's had numbers like Mahomes. He's not Mahomes, but he's had numbers like Mahomes the past 3 years, or since he started in Tennessee. So he's a great pick. We have Tom Brady at 11. We talk about this every year, probably every year for the last 10 years in fantasy. People are like, well, he's gonna be bad at some point, but he never is. So could Tom Brady be the steal of the draft?
Well, one, it's not that he never is. The past couple years in New England, he wasn't throwing as much. So now I feel like last year he did what he wanted to do. He wanted to throw more. And this was the debate between Moose and I last offseason was that, is he actually going to be able to do it? He was able to. I think he is the most consistent fantasy player on this team week to week because there's so many receiving weapons that you never know who's going to be the guy. So, I mean, Tom Brady is the guy that you should draft on this team confidently where his ADP is.
Yeah, I love him. Like if you're waiting on QB and you want to stack up on running backs and wide receivers, get your premier tight end. Yeah, wait it out. And these are the guys you can pick up: Brady, Tannehill, Stafford. I think easy money. And listen, they might not finish in the top 5, but they'll be reliable. There might be a couple weeks where they're like the defense wins them the week and they don't throw that much, but they're going to be good. And the difference on a point per game basis between them and the top 3 will be minimal. So you can still win your league with these guys who finish in the lower end of the QB1 category. So I think Tom Brady's definitely someone to put on the list. Joe Burrow at number 12.
Singular.
Yeah, singular Burrow. How do we feel about Joe Burrow with the Jamar Chase news dropping balls? Everyone was hyped about him. And then, him being a little bit tentative with the injuries. First of all, have you seen any preseason play from him? And, are you confident drafting him as your QB1?
I think so.
So, Moose, you are, and you have Joe Burrow at number 10 on your list. Anthony?
Yep.
Oh, I thought you wanted him to elaborate.
He wasn't. So
yeah. So
no, sorry, because I was just looking. Well, at least in PPR, Joe Burrow, his numbers were good. He was off to a great start before he hurt his knee.
His numbers were great
for a rookie, and now he's in his second year.
Yeah, he was on pace to be a top 12 quarterback last year.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, you and I have him at 13. So I mean,
just outside. So, I mean, I do think he's a late round value as well. I'll explain a situation that we'll bring up after with the next guy that we'll talk about where I think.
So we're gonna move forward and then jump back.
No, I'm not going to mention the name. That's what I'm saying. I'm not mentioning anyone, so I don't jump forward. But I mean, Joe Burrow's perfectly fine. I haven't heard enough and seen enough out of him in the preseason. I mean, he's still going to be fantastic, but he's not as flashy as some of these other players. That's simply it. I just like guys better than him. And
is it the injury though? Is it the injury?
No, it's not the injury.
It's not the injury. Okay. So to me, I'm a little concerned about him taking a while to warm up back into it, and the fact that he was tentative, it concerns me a little bit. I picked Joe Burrow last year. I think in one of our leagues, I picked Joe Burrow and Tom Brady late to have that, one of them, one old, one young, somebody who's going to be good. And Joe Burrow was doing great, and I thought he was going to end up being my quarterback till he got injured. If he's healthy, yeah, I like it because, man, did they throw the ball a lot, and he's got tons of weapons. He's someone who could be, if he's healthy, plays the whole season, and he's comfortable with his legs because he can run too. He's mobile. He can get 500 yards on the ground. So
I think I compare him a little bit to Derek Carr, where they have like these offensive weapons. You have Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards, who didn't perform last year and
didn't play last year.
Well, Ruggs did.
They both played. They both played last year.
Yeah, Bryan Edwards came back towards the end, but Derek Carr finished just outside the top 12. So I mean, if Jamar Chase is not that good, and if Mixon struggles, I still think Joe Burrow can be decent enough. He's a super talented QB, but it's just like I mentioned, there's other guys I like more.
All right. Last QB we want to mention outside of our top 12. We went over our top 12, but outside of our top 12 is Deshaun Watson. So we have him at consensus number 14. I have him as 17. Moose has him at 16, and Anthony has him all the way up at 12. So Anthony, he is in your top 12. So
Yes.
people who are going into their draft this weekend, there's rumors swirling that he can go to Miami. There's these allegations surrounding him. What do you do with Deshaun Watson? What are you comfortable doing?
So I am comfortable taking him as like my 12th ranked, but I don't know what his ADP is right now. While it talk about him, maybe if you can drum it up, Dave. But
he's late mid round, but yeah,
he's late mid round. So I mean, that's great. If some people are in the same mindset as me, where wait on your QB, Deshaun Watson, if he plays, will be a top 5 quarterback. We've seen him play last year.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, let me finish, and then you can challenge me. But last year he was on a terrible Houston Texans team. He finished in the top 5, and I just feel
he's actually finished 4th overall like 5 years in a row at
right
quarterback.
On good teams and on a good Texans team and on a bad Texans team. So I put him at 12, and I put him so high, and I might even reach a little bit for him. So if he's going like 8th round, I might reach a little bit, maybe 6th or 7th, just because if he does play, and Moose and I have, the three of us have talked at length about him off air too, because Moose has him in Dynasty, and it's like, what do you do? And Moose seems, we're not going to get into the legal issues, but Moose seems to think with the way that it's going, it looks like he will play, but what team will he play for? Because the Houston Texans might just not start him because he doesn't want to play for them. He might sit out. Okay. But I think the value he has if he does play, because it could be week 1 and then it's like he's playing. We never know with guys like this, like Melvin Gordon with holding out last year. He's like, I'm not going to play the entire season. And then all of a sudden he just comes back 1 week. So, I mean, it's worth it for him. He's like a Michael Thomas. And I mean, Moose mentioned also that he's not designated IR or pup list or whatever. So that's the issue, that he's taking up a bench spot. But I do think it might be worth taking him, because I do think he will play.
Okay, can we all
and then
agree?
You would draft a Burrow. That's why I didn't want to jump ahead. You would take him and then maybe a Joe Burrow or Ryan Fitzpatrick later on, so you do have a second guy in case he doesn't play.
So I think it's a good strategy. I think getting the Deshaun Watson is a great strategy, but I don't think you should draft him first. I think you should lock in a starting quarterback and then consider getting Deshaun Watson. I don't think,
but can that starting quarterback be drafted later?
No, that's my thing. Is I wouldn't like use this Deshaun Watson strategy as like, this is the winning strategy. It'd be great if you got him, fantastic, like bonus. But I wouldn't go into my draft with a strategy of trying to take Deshaun Watson before somebody else and maybe reach and burn that draft spot. And now he's sitting on my bench as well. And maybe I didn't get as good a quarterback as I could have gotten in that Deshaun Watson spot.
Okay.
With just on the assumption that he might play. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen. If he doesn't play, then let's say if your bench is 5, you're playing 4 spots all season on your bench, which is not going to be ideal when bye weeks roll around.
Fair enough. Can we all agree if Deshaun Watson does play on any team that he could be top 5 quarterback in fantasy?
Oh yeah, of course. If he plays, then that's what I'm saying. Oh, you reap the benefits, but great. I wouldn't gamble in this situation.
Gotcha. So we all agree on that. Currently, his ADP is the 23rd quarterback off the board, 164th. Talking about round 13. So let's say conservative. Let's say your league's a little bit smarter, and a lot of people might be gunning for him. Let's say you can only get him like round 10. If you are someone who's willing to wait on QB anyways, is it not okay then to pick him up in round 10 and pick someone up like Ryan Fitzpatrick, like a Matt Ryan, like a Joe Burrow right before or right after?
So this is what I did. So I've been doing mock drafts. Like, you guys make fun of me that I refer to my mock drafts, but we're
that one mock draft you did.
Yeah, but there's plenty of them. Anyways, so I was drafting in the early spots 1 to 3, and it was the 10th round when it came back to me, and I have the 2 picks in a row at the first spot. I took Deshaun Watson at 10th, and then with my next pick, I took Jameis Winston. Now that we know he's the starter, I took Jameis Winston on the turnaround. I mean, you could take Jameis Winston, or I don't know who else would have been available at the time. I can't remember. I can go pull it up, but I think if I drafting 2 in a row, I mean, 10th, I have no problem taking Deshaun Watson. and then taking another QB right away. At that point, I have my starting lineup and I have my flex spots, and I've probably already covered my butt with running backs. So I don't have a problem going
like
two in a row.
quarterbacks that are available like Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Carson Wentz, Ben Roethlisberger, Kirk Cousins. There's plenty of quarterbacks available that are streamable.
Yeah, I guess my point is like it's taken months to even get the smallest shred of information or progress on the allegations that have been placed against him. I just wouldn't bank my fantasy season on him being ready. I just don't.
Fair
he's
enough.
not. I don't think he's going to play. And so, sure, dynasty, whatever, do whatever you want because you're going to have him. He's going to play in future years for sure. But for a redraft, I just don't think it's a winning strategy. It very well could pay off, but I don't think it's one you should deploy.
Right. So what Moose is saying is if you are banking on Deshaun Watson definitely playing, then don't, and that's the only reason you would wait on quarterback, then don't do that. If you were normally trying to get a mid-round quarterback or an early quarterback in the top 10, and you're like, okay, well, Deshaun Watson's going to be that guy, I'll just draft him later. Don't do that because it's risky. So take your normal quarterback. If you're someone who waits and has success waiting on quarterback and you can wait very late, then yeah, maybe get him and someone else, and that might work for you. But don't bank on Deshaun Watson playing. That's what you're saying, Moose.
Yeah, well, because I mean, on draft day, you're basically burning a potential early draft spot or mid-round draft spot and a bench spot.
Yep.
For someone for in he just like you can consider him like an injury, like a season-ending injury at this point.
Yeah. And
so
and
you would never do that. You would never do that. So that's why I'm sort of may not be worth it.
Yeah, and I have him listed 17, but I'm not going to be. I don't think I'll be drafting Deshaun Watson. I'll let someone else take that risk, and if it pays off for them, good on them.
And this is where we talk about looking at your league mates and how they draft. So that mock draft, for some reason, there were just such good players that were available to me at that one spot where I was like, I'm not going to take a quarterback now because this running back or this wide receiver has so much value over the QB of that spot. So I mean, if the draft doesn't come to you how you expect, I mean, don't wait for Deshaun Watson. Get your QB early. So it all depends on your league and how they draft. And I mean, you need to really be sure and confident that you would be okay with Deshaun Watson not playing the entire season potentially.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, I think that wraps up our top 12 QBs. We're going to post our rankings again on Instagram, so check us out, 3B Fantasy Pod. Let's move on to tight ends and get into our top 12 consensus tight ends. Ooh, this will be fun. You guys did a tight end episode a few weeks back without me, and it's tough. It's tough after the top 6 knowing where these guys are going to land, but we'll give you our best shot. So
before we jump into it, I was actually surprised at I think this might be the first year where there's not going to be as heavy a drop off. I think there's some real, like the drop off will be there, but it's not going to be as steep. When I was looking at the rankings, I was kind of like, no, it might be a little bit closer. Like obviously the top 3 are far and above, but the next couple it could be some interesting tight end play this season.
There could be some tight ends that move into that top tier, maybe not the Travis Kelce tier, but into that next tier of tight end. Absolutely. Don't forget last year from number 8 to number 18 tight end on the year were separated by 19 points, which is not a lot in fantasy football. It's 3 touchdowns, which tight ends, I mean, it depends on the day. You can get 3 touchdowns, right? So, but I agree with you, Miss. We'll get into it. So here's our top 12. At number 1, unanimous across the fantasy community, Travis Kelce, the man from Kansas City. At number 2 on this podcast, unanimous, Darren Waller of the Las Vegas Raiders. Number 2. Number 3, unanimous for us, George Kittle. At number 4, slight discrepancy, but we have Kyle Pitts. At number 5, Mark Andrews. Number 6, TJ Hawkinson. Number 7, Logan Thomas. Number 8, Mike Gesicki, hard G. Number 9, Robert Tonyan. Number 10, Noah Fant. Number 11, Tyler Higbee. And number 12, Seattle Seahawks, new tight end, Gerald Everett. Woo! It's a good list. It's a good list. I like it. Kelce, we've talked numerous times on this podcast. Moose was the first to be on the draft a top tight end. Draft him as early as you need to. Train. It's worked for him. We all think having a good tight end is important. Kelce is phenomenal. At number 2 and 3, Darren Waller, George Kittle, both fantastic. Darren Waller is going to be that volume guy, get tons of receptions. Should George Kittle is a beast. Probably the only reason we have him third is that injury risk, right? Otherwise, we have him second or higher.
It's funny. I had him at second, and then I went, oh man,
yeah,
all those injuries. Darren Waller takes it.
Yeah,
exactly. Number 4, Kyle Pitts. So I was surprised. I have him at 5th. You guys have, Anthony and I have him at 5th. Moose has him at 4th. So that makes sense. Moose, you would take him ahead of Hawkinson or Andrews?
Yeah. Just gamble. I think it's worth the gamble. It's been nothing but hype from Atlanta. I mean, honestly, this could flop too, but right. I think it's totally worth getting a potential, high volume tight end.
Right.
And if you want to be safe, then by all means go Hawkinson.
Can I ask you this? Was it the update? Was it the sleeper update that came out and said Atlanta's using him in every formation?
Well, yeah,
I'm putting him fourth.
No, but I think I always had him pretty high too. I mean, it's just been hype since day one.
Yeah,
and of course awesome. It could all just be hype. But I mean, realistically, we said it a million times. If you're not getting 1, 2, 3, well, then everybody else is going to be so. And there's always some truth to hype. And the amount of hype that Kyle Pitts has had, I can't imagine him being a low end tight end. He at worst he'll be touchdown dependent, like the guys who are going to follow him. So I think it's worth the gamble.
So Anthony, is he worth drafting as the 4th tight end overall, which is his ADP right now, 46th?
Yeah,
it's like round 4 or 5.
I mean, like Moose saying, like the tiers, I do agree with Moose that I think there will be still that drop off, but not as big. In my opinion, the way I rank them, I would still put Mark Andrews ahead. I know Mark Andrews doesn't seem as flashy as Kyle Pitts, but Mark Andrews' 2 seasons have been 4th and 5th. I mean, Kyle Pitts is unproven. So it all depends if you're going for upside. Mark Andrews, we know, is going to finish 4th or 5th. I put him in a category alone as tier 2. I think this is the year that there will be other tight ends that go into that tier 2 category. So tier 1 obviously being
Kelsey. You have Andrews tier 2?
Yeah, he's the only one in tier 2 because I know he's going to finish 4th, 5th. Kyle Pitts, I mean, he's on a terrible Atlanta team, but they're going to pepper him with the ball. But how much will he actually get? So I have Kyle Pitts and some of the other guys you mentioned, like TJ Hawkinson, the Logan Thomas, like within the same realm, because I think these are the guys that are going to have the potential to get so many targets. Yeah. And just because of that can launch them into the tier 2 category and be the main offensive weapon for their teams. I mean, we talk about teams like Detroit, so Hawkinson and Logan Thomas being on Washington, they're not high level passing teams, but they rely on the tight ends so much. So I think,
so Logan Thomas we're jumping all over the place again, but classic Anthony.
No, but I'm not jumping. I'm just mentioning guys that will be targeted a lot. I don't want to jump ahead, but I'm just saying guys that can move up to the Mark Andrews category. So for the reason of being safe and not knowing that what could happen with Pitts, because it is the tight end position, and it's been since Evan Ingram, I think you had mentioned before, Dave, in a previous episode, was the last one to kind of like break out as a in top
his first year. Yeah,
in his first year. So
I think he's the only top 12 tight end.
Just for the numbers and the stats.
Gronkowski.
Yeah. So I feel safer with Mark Andrews because same reason. Baltimore doesn't have a lot of receivers that have showed up. So, I mean, Mark Andrews is the safety blanket for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and fair enough. Andrews, he didn't look good last year. And I know the year before
still
he
finished
was fantastic. Still finished 5th, I know, but I like that Kyle. I like the roll of the dice with the Kyle Pitts there a little bit. TJ Hawkinson, I'm slightly higher on than you guys. Talk about volume. Let's be honest, TJ Hawkinson is the number 1 receiver in Detroit, albeit a terrible team. Won't have a great offense, but his volume could be through the roof.
And Jared Goff loves a tight end.
Yes, could be through the roof. So TJ Hawkinson to me is pretty safe. Like maybe at worst he finishes like 6, 7, 8 in that range. Logan Thomas had tons of volume last year, potentially even besides Kelsey and Waller, the most targets amongst tight ends. I have to check that. But with that new offense, we just don't. Moose has mentioned before, we just don't know what's going to happen. Fitzpatrick or Fitzmagic, we should say. Curtis Samuel's there. Adam Humphries is there. Terry McLaurin, who we think is going to be a top 12 wide receiver, is there. So it might be a little less volume for Logan Thomas.
I agree with that because I had Logan Thomas up there mostly just because of his performance last season, but with the understanding that the quarterback play was atrocious. There was no downfield passing. It was, just dump offs to Logan Thomas, and which gave him an opportunity to showcase himself. So you'd assume they'd make him a bit more a part of the offense, with Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin as well. Mm-hmm. But I do anticipate some regression for sure.
Yeah, there will be some regression, but like your Kyle Pitts hype that you saw a notification for it, I'm trying to look for the exact.
Okay, hold on a sec here. Kyle Pitts is a little more athletic and younger than, and there was 32-year-old, 33-year-old Logan Thomas.
There's a lot more than one sleeper notification on Kyle Pitts. Like there's a lot of hype on this guy.
Yeah. Right. But he still has to prove himself. So I mean, Logan Thomas, we know he has a rapport with Fitzpatrick as well. So I'm looking at preseason as well, and he was peppered with targets. He got paid. I mean, and tight ends don't get paid like that. He had one good year and he got his money already. They're going to look at him. I truly believe that they're going to look at him like one of their main offensive weapons. And that's why I had him lower originally and recently.
He's like 30 years old.
He is. He's 33.
So it's a very late.
I'm not saying he's going to stay there for years to come. It's where I'm ranking him this coming year. I think they'll get the most out of him this year, and then after that, we'll deal with the future.
I think they got the most out of him last year, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think the difference, between him and Kyle Pitts is exactly what Dave said. Like Logan Thomas, late breakout. Kyle Pitts is anticipated to break out immediately.
But I mean, the three of us rank Logan Thomas the same. So I'm saying like the tight end. We said there's drop off. So based off of last season, you anticipate that maybe be the same kind of thing, but it's a different offense now. So he could easily drop down that list. Right. Exactly. He can go up or he can go down. That's where I think I put him in that category with guys that can either show up or go back to be a nobody.
Okay. Fair enough. Robert Tonyan, we disagree on a little bit. But
a lot of
Go ahead. You can listen to 2 episodes ago. I think he's touchdown dependent, but I think he could finish. He could finish 8. He finished 3rd last year. If he repeats what he did last year, he'll be awesome. I see a regression coming for him, but maybe I have him too low. I'm at 14.
I think it really depends how many balls MVS can catch, because then Robert Tonyan becomes like the second best receiver.
Don't forget Randall Cobb.
Oh yeah, Randall Cobb.
Old Randall Cobb.
The rest of our list, we got Noah Fant at 10, Tyler Higbee at 11, 12, Gerald Everett. These are guys you can get a little bit later. Noah Fant, maybe he's going a little bit earlier. That could prove to be very reliable tight ends. Maybe not, as tight ends go. But let's talk about one of the names off the list. At number 13, we have Rob Gronkowski consensus. Moose, you have him at 9, and he's going to go down as the greatest tight end of all time. So why should people draft him as their tight end 1 this year, Moose?
Well, 1, I don't think he's going to go down as the greatest tight end of all time.
You don't think so?
I think that goes to Travis Kelce, hands down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, if Travis Kelce has a season-ending injury now, I think Gronkowski has it. But Travis Kelce needs to have a healthy rest of his career, and then he'll go down as the greatest.
No, I'm pretty sure Travis Kelce already has more number 1 seasons than Rob Gronkowski.
Well, hold on. Never mind fantasy. Like, real football. Like, Gronkowski's got 4 Super Bowls now, right?
4 Super Bowls. The amount of touchdowns he had as well. Like, Kelce didn't come into this.
I was talking in fantasy terms. But
fantasy, Kelce. I give it to Kelce.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Why should people draft Robert Gronkowski this year, Miss?
Well, I mean, he had we always talk about, the end of season stretch. He had a fantastic one. He was literally coming out of retirement. So there was definitely some rust shaking. He did not acclimatize well to Tampa Bay. So I think he struggled start of the season. There was no preseason either.
Yep.
But now he's had a full season with Tom again. He's had the preseason. He's acclimatized. You guys just said he's going to be the number 1 tight end of all time, who he became with Tom Brady. So I anticipate
he finished eighth in half PPR last year, and if you had him in the championship week, scored you 18 points, so it probably helped.
Yeah, but Moose is big on the playoff performances. Week 14, 15, 6.7 and 4.4. So I mean, he's not helping you in that tight end position that is so valuable, according to Moose.
Yeah, this is true. But again, I guess you weren't listening. He was still getting himself adjusted to Tampa Bay.
But wait, but your getting adjusted worked in the real playoffs, but getting adjusted for our fantasy playoffs is not where you want him to start adjusting. But I think he's a reliable target and will get a touchdown. But I mean, yardage, I don't think is going to be his forte this season. So, I mean, he'll get you your 6 points maybe for the playoff games as a reliable target. But I think, like you mentioned, for the receivers, there are a million targets over there. Even the other tight ends are healthy.
Yeah, but
he's not safe.
Honestly, Rob Gronkowski will play the same role as Robert Tonyan.
I don't know, because they have so many other people that can play the role. So
he's not as mobile.
Don't get me wrong, but they got Mike Evans, they got Chris Godwin, they got Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller's still there. They got 3 running backs that can score touchdowns, and they got OJ Howard coming off injury. And now this new young guy on the team, Anthony, can drum him up. So I think from a real NFL standpoint, Gronkowski will be one of the most valuable pass catchers on that team in terms of real football when it matters most in the playoffs. I think if you have Rob, I keep saying his name wrong, Rob Gronkowski, if you have Gronk on your team, you're going to save him a bit for the playoffs. So I think in the regular season, you might be a little disappointed because he won't be playing as many snaps. They're going to save him and make sure he's healthy for playoff run.
Where did we have him?
We got him. Well, he's 13th consensus, but you have him at 9.
Yeah, I think if he's the 9th tight end off the board in your draft, you're happy.
Okay, I got him at Anthony. I have him at 15 off the board, but tight end's a crapshoot. So
yeah,
he is proven, but I think that does come with risks. All right, any other tight ends you want to talk about, guys?
I mean, didn't Hayden Hurst finish 9th last season? I think we can all agree Rob is better than Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, and we all have him ranked higher than Hayden Hurst right now. Hayden Hurst was a opportunity and volume based guess, which I guessed correctly that he was going to get tons of volume, and he did, and he proved to be number 9. Gronkowski, I think, will not get a lot of volume at all. He will be touchdown dependent and efficiency dependent because there's so many other weapons on that team, and they're probably not going to want to overuse him. It's not like they're going to pepper him with targets. He's going to get tired and not play in the playoffs because of some injury.
So he had 623 yards and 7 touchdowns. I mean,
tutties.
7 tutties. I can see 500 yards this year and 5 tutties. And I just see regression. He's not as mobile as he used to be. And I mean, it's hilarious. I love just on the side, you and I, when he was on the decline, when he was healthy on New England, I was high on him. I think I did hit on 1 year out of 2 that I thought he was going to be fantastic. And then now it's he's old and he's
33.
He's a robot. Basically, he has braces everywhere. I see a true regression due to age and injury for him. So that's why I say the numbers come down a bit. The year before, 2018, he was 682 and 3 touchdowns. I just think it'll be more tutty heavy than yardage.
Tutty heavy. What a great term. All right, guys. I think that wraps up for rankings for today. I think we're ready to get into our next segment, if you will indulge. They said it on Reddit.
Yeah, it sounds really good in that room.
Was it?
It was very echoey, but it sounded good.
And the one hand instead of 2, I like it. I like it.
I'm one-handed, like Odell Beckham Jr. back in the day.
So this one's coming from user EJ the Juice Boy. What are your pre-draft rituals? I'm currently blasting the best of Sam Spence at 8 a.m. to get in the right mindset for my draft later. What stuff do you guys do to get ready? This is a fun one, guys.
Real fun.
I'll let one of you start.
I do nothing.
Wow. So maybe not a fun one.
I do my research. I really, I get all my papers. We spoke about it before. We get my papers. Make sure you got a pen that works.
That's a ritual. Some people don't come to their draft with anything.
That's not really a ritual. That's just preparation.
Okay.
Preparation. You don't need to do you draft with a drink? Like, I know we're Baller Beers and Banter podcast. Like,
is having a beer a ritual?
Well, some people
always, yeah.
Because for me, I see a ritual as like kissing a lucky egg or something.
Okay,
I think that's what he's asking. Ritual. Like, what's a?
No, I know, but okay, but having a beer counts. So, most years now, I'm always visiting you guys, so I'm always at like Moose's place for these drafts. So, rituals kind of depend on where I'm at, but I will say I always have a beer before or a drink before the draft to loosen up a little bit, to make sure I'm not too tense, because I get super excited for these drafts, and that nervous energy. So I have a drink to loosen up, and then one more drink during, and definitely have my rankings out, and whatever else I have written down, who I want to target by round, my marquee to the mid rounds, have that all prepped in advance. And actually last year, what I really liked, I was at home because of COVID, not visiting you guys, and I put up the draft board on my TV screen, the big screen TV, and then I had my laptop with my rankings on it. So I had the double duty, and I thought that was really cool. So if I can make that happen again at your place, I might do that.
I mean, yours don't really sound like rituals either. That just seems like more preparation.
Just getting prepared.
So good thing I'm going last, because I actually have rituals. I mean, I do have my normal preparation as well, but I had mentioned before on the podcast, this is more of leading up to my drafts. I make sure to watch the entire every season of the league. I did not do that last year and did not make any of the playoffs. The first time I didn't make the playoffs in our
I'm sure that's the reason.
I mean, we're talking about rituals and what players do every day before game day. I mean, I didn't do it for the first time, and I didn't make it into the playoffs for the first time in that league. So, I mean, the numbers are on my side for this. So I've done that. So that's checked off. Usually what I like to do to loosen up for my drafts is have not a beer, but I'll either have a glass of scotch with me on the side, kind of like a GM. I wish I had a cigar too. Maybe if the weather's nice enough, I'll sit outside. I'll do my draft. Make sure the Wi-Fi is.
I'm picturing who was it? Was it Sean McVay's place or Cliff Kingsbury? Cliff Kingsbury's place.
Yeah.
All right, I got you.
So I think I'm gonna make that a new ritual to have a cigar with my scotch, because that goes perfectly together. But yeah, and I always wear a Bears, like I'm always wearing my Bears hat, or most of the time on the podcast, but I always wear my Bears sweater.
Oh, did you win did you neglect to wear the Bears sweater the year you won?
I would have to. I mean, it's so hard to remember,
because I feel like.
But I've also worn it when I did.
One year you forgot to wear your Bears sweater might be the year you won, because I don't know.
And maybe the lack of ritual that you have is no trophy.
Okay.
Maybe I gotta invent a ritual or something.
Yeah.
Well, people. I mean, whatever you're doing is working, Moose. So
yeah,
I mean,
we should get people. Yeah, we should get people to come on halftime. Tell us what your rituals are.
Yes, come join us on Halftime Sports this Wednesday. I mean, this Wednesday we're doing a live draft, but any Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, we'd love to have you. Speaking of scotch and rituals, Anthony, I've been drinking a Peroni today, which
nice.
Confirmed has been available in Canada for a long, long time. But
okay, so it wasn't the
better
one.
of the Italian beers. It's better than Moretta.
I disagree. It's a little lighter for like so.
Anthony, you love light beers.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's 5.1%.
I like the taste of Moretti better. It's like that good. But I mean, I'm not any better right now. I have a Michelob Ultra.
Michelob Ultra Light. Oh, okay.
I'll give you guys one guess what I'm drinking.
Heineken. Now that's a tradition. That's a ritual.
There you go.
That's a podcast ritual. That'll be a draft ritual. That'll be a ritual for the end of time. Moose and his Heine.
Maybe they'll sponsor me one day. I'll just get a call. Hey,
I feel like it's in the cards. All right. Nice. Words of wisdom before we leave, gentlemen.
Always put your best gut forward.
I always do.
Always, especially now that we're in draft season. Always trust your gut.
Trust your gut.
Yeah. Moose, we need something for, I know when it's 295 Kelvin or up, we wear sunscreen. That's one of our words of wisdom. What about the humidity? Like if the humidex is at a certain point, because this Eastern humidity is crushing me. Like we went to the batting cages today, did a little outdoor batting cages. Shirt was soaked. Like, what do you do? What do you do for the humidity? Never mind sunscreen.
Well,
like a wet towel with you, or a sweat towel.
Change a shirt.
I just don't go outside on days like today.
Okay. Well, I like to still go outside, so I might just,
Well,
when the humidex is 40, bring a towel.
Bring a towel. I guess bring an extra shirt. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fair enough. Anthony, any words of wisdom?
No, I mean, you guys covered it.
All right. Well, then we'll see everyone this Wednesday on Halftime Sports. If you're not already downloaded the app, get on it. See you at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be a fun one. Live draft.
And also, our halftime listeners, we have 3 spots left. So, halftime listeners, if when you hear this tomorrow, join up. 3 spots left.
3 spots left in the draft. Love it. All right. That was a fun episode, guys. We'll see you next time. As always, thanks for listening. See you next time.
Ciao.